Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. It's good to see everyone. Thank you so much, Nancy, who already ordered the new palette. Thank you to a lot of familiar faces. Thank you to some new faces. It's good to see you. I'm sorry that it's been so long since my last video. Lots of life changes here for the better. You might notice I'm in a new room. Hopefully everything is all good and set up. I know that the video quality is not quite what you're used to. We are not at my normal art desk, but we are at the computer desk, which is important for the live stream. So it is great to see you all. And today we're going to be taking a look at my updated Da Vinci palette for the Earth Friendly set. There are links to everything in the description if you're looking. There's a link to my website to give you some more information. My patrons got a little bit of information ahead of time if you want to head over there to see what they know. We've got 40% off in the Etsy shop. We've got everything. We've got two new colors, as you can see here on the screen, that we're going to be going over today. With the Earth Friendly palette, you guys know it changed back in 2023 and it launched in 2019. And each time, hold on one second. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so I'm still a little congested. Each time a pigment becomes unavailable, we have to go ahead and look into this. So the last palette update was due to P048 going out of existence. This one is not in that kind of situation, but PY129 is no longer available for Da Vinci to manufacture. Their green gold has been pulled. We had to pull Denise's green, unfortunately. And then we also I found out a little while back that PB60, Indanthrene Blue, which is one of my favorite colors, there was new research that was released saying that it is not safe for aquatic life. So that really sucks. And it obviously no longer fits the mission of the Earth Friendly palette. So we've been trying to reformulate Denise's green. I think it's been in talks for like a year now. I'm sorry it took so long for it to come out, but we're going to be taking a look at that today. And we're also going to be looking at another new color for Denise's turquoise. I'm going to try and keep up with the chat the best I can, but if I miss anything, feel free to drop it again. Again, all the links that you need to know are in the description. Thank you for joining us. So just to clarify, PY129 is still available. It is still being manufactured, but Da Vinci's supply of it is no longer available to them. So I know that they tried to reformulate. I don't know all the details in the background, but they're no longer selling it. So don't panic. Don't panic. PY129 is still around, so you can find it from other manufacturers. The new Denise's green is made from phthalo turquoise, and two of the pigments that they use to formulate their Da Vinci's new formula for new gold, which is their quinacridone gold replacement. So it's still kind of in that familiar realm that you guys are used to seeing for this. Although we are going to be taking a look today between my former green and this one. It is a lot different, and there are scans of this over on my Patreon if you guys want to see the high quality scans. But we're going to take a direct look at this next to the new green. The new green is going to be earthier, it is darker, it doesn't have that same glow because without PY129 or PY150, we can't get that glow, but it's a really lovely earth color, a little bit more subdued, and kind of goes in line with how I've been painting these days with just some really calming colors. Yeah, no one panic. PY129 is still around. I don't want to cause any confusion there. PO48, as Burley mentioned, is still available from some brands who have a stock. So like Daniel Smith still has a stock. I didn't know Rembrandt still did, but apparently they do too. It's just no longer being produced, so anyone who doesn't have PO48 can't still be purchasing it. Yes. All right, so thank you guys for sharing your formulas in the chat. That's wonderful to see. After we do Denise's green, we'll take a look at that new Denise's turquoise and tell you what I was thinking behind that one. Here is the updated palette set. You'll notice that some of these are my own pans from moving things around. Oh, how about we take a look at the palette? Do you guys want to see that? Because it's not just these two colors that have changed. We actually have 6 new colors in the lineup. Again, there's a full post over on Patreon. But you'll notice some new players. We've swapped out Hansa Yellow Deep for Benzimida Orange. I just don't use a split yellow primary anymore since I have so many yellow earth tones. So I decided to change that out for something more versatile to more people. I know not everyone has an aversion to orange like I do, and it was also really important by taking out that PB60 that we have multiple ways to make a dark black mixture. So without indanthrene blue, without stormy blue in this palette, I wanted a couple avenues to mix your dark black. So we've got Benzimita orange, which pairs really well with our cooler blues and even greens. We've got a new magenta. So if you guys haven't seen, Da Vinci in their lineup has a PR 122 now that doesn't have the fluorescence in it. Their opera rose is called Opus. And this is just the PR 122 without Opus. Sorry, you can't see my fingers. I did such a good job at zooming in. I've been pointing, but you can't see them. So we have a proper magenta rose. So we took out Theo Indigo Violet, which was the magenta on this palette before, and swapped it out for this. So you see we have, our fire engine red, we've got a deep red, we've got our cool pink, and then we have a proper magenta, which is really, really exciting. I am so glad you guys like the swatch sheet. I started doing this a while back, just to kind of tell you how they're painted out. We're going to do that today actually in the swatches, is that we do one layer that's a variegated wash, and then I go over it again and do like a variegated wash that is like inconsistent, so you guys can see where I soften off, where there's hard lines, where it's darker, where it's lighter. And I feel like this gives a better idea of just how I use them in painting versus a swatch. All right, and then you're gonna see, if you've been around the channel for a long time, you might notice that Da Vinci Violet is back on the palette. We took it off the palette when I introduced Stormy Blue in 2023. We're putting it back on since we don't have that Stormy Blue. It's another way to get those nice deep black colors. It pairs really well with Pearline Green, makes some really beautiful like tealy colors with the blues, and it makes gorgeous earth tones with our yellows and our earth yellows. Let me take a little water break. Again, getting over that cold. Sorry about that. I apologize if I'm a bit quiet. I am as loud as I can possibly be on my setup. I know that like my laptop isn't good at picking up live streams, so I apologize for that. I can pull my mic a little bit closer, but I don't know how much it's gonna help. It's not, I can't audio balance the same way I do with my video, so I do apologize for that. Let me know if anyone else is having trouble. I also see further back in the chat that Graham is going through the final stock of PO48. That's great to hear that update. Thank you. All right. So we've got our Da Vinci Violet back. This is so that we can mix dark tones, and it has really beautiful earth tones as well. And then I'm adding a new color here. This is Ultramarine Violet, and it hasn't been on this palette before. It hasn't been on any of my palettes before. Part of the reformulation that we were doing, or rebalancing of the palettes, is that I wanted to make as little overlap as I can. There is an update coming to the Wildlife palette that's not ready yet, but I'll go over that at the very end of this video if we have some time. And I'll be posting that to Patreon as well once the updates are ready. But I wanted to try and take out overlap where I could. There's still a little bit of overlap, but with our Ultramarine Violet, we can paint some really atmospheric, sorry, that word was atmospheric, colors. It subtly granulates. It's kind of a cool to neutral purple. And I really have loved using lilac in my Embrace Opacity palette. This lighter purple, that one is much warmer, but I wanted to give us a cooler violet option here too. So that's really exciting. We've got our normal blues, and then our new Denise's turquoise, which we'll go over later in the stream. And then we've got Denise's green here. So you'll notice there's a couple less earth tones. We don't have our dark in the Stormy Blue, but I feel like we did a really good job at rounding out the palette, and I hope you really enjoy it. All right, sounds a little bit better. Great. All right, so let's go ahead and start painting out Denise's new green. See if I can get a US friend to get it to me. I know the shipping is so rough these days. I personally, like in my personal life, it's hard to order anything outside of the US, and I know it's hard to order anything from us, so I do apologize for that. Wow, all the way from South Africa. Thank you so much to pop in. I appreciate it. I hope you sleep well tonight. All right. So my first little swatch here is going to be the swatch cards that you're used to seeing from me from way back when. Got my little swatch of green over here. None of these have been pre-wet, so as usual, Da Vinci re-wets really well. We're going to work on our first swatch where we put in a nice deep value up top. And then we're going to start adding water so that we can get a graded wash that moves down the page. I'm going to tilt this a little bit. Let gravity help us out. It's a bit bigger than my normal swatch cards, so my brushes that I normally use have to work a little extra to get that whole swatch going. We're going to bring those all the way to the edges. This is Arch's watercolor paper, and it is masked out with 1/8 inch masking tape for all our little squares and boxes. And I'll explain what we're doing in each area once we get there. Just trying to make this a nice, even, controlled wash. We have room for chaotic washes elsewhere on the chart. And in between washes, I can check over in the chat to see how things are going. Da Vinci always uses FedEx for international. I do know that Da Vinci's warehouse is kind of remote. It is not located centrally. I went there when we first started working together, and they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so I think they use what they have available to them. You will also find, I didn't have a chance to check this morning, but if you want to check out journeyartstuff.com, I believe the palette should be there as well. I don't know if they have different shipping options. I should have checked beforehand. I'm sorry about that. And that's journeyartstuff.com, I believe. I love your Embrace Opacity palette that I got out before shipping went nuts. I'm so glad you were able to get that. And again, have a good night. Perfect green for moss. Yes. So one of the things that I was writing up in the description for the Denise's New Green is that when you swatch out, Denise's green, these are kind of like brighter moss greens, whereas this is more of like a sagey green in its lighter tones, or like a very soft moss. I mean, there's different kinds of moss, obviously, but more like the lichen green. All right. So now that we have our first wash there, our next wash is going to be the variegated wash that I do over here. So it's done in 2 layers. We're going to load up this is a 1/2 inch flat brush from Jackson's. Jackson's is no longer a good option for me in the US, so I've not been using their stuff as much, but we're just going to let the paint take us where it wants to, try and vary the amount of paint versus water in the wash. We're going to encourage blooming so that we can really see how this works in actual painting practice. I'm gonna twist up my sleeve a little. I did not realize that the button would sound against the table, so I apologize if you're wearing headphones. Jackson has a US warehouse now, which sometimes makes it easier. Yes, it is nice when you can get them from that warehouse. I honestly haven't purchased any art supplies in a very long time. Between the move earlier this year and the move I just did recently, I've been trying to pare down things, so I'll have to take a look at those shipping rates again. All right, so this has been the 1/2 inch flat brush. I'm going to switch to a size 8 silver black velvet, and we're going to do the same thing, but with a round brush. Glad I caught the newest update live. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you could be here. I have missed you guys. It has been a really long time. totally understand why Da Vinci's using what they're using available. I know international shipping is such a nightmare right now. It's really hurting everyone. I know small businesses are really hurting. People have had to stop, like small businesses have had to stop shipping internationally in a lot of places because it's just not viable anymore. Some of the smaller paint companies are doing the same. Question: Da Vinci is not available in Europe. If you have a chance, would you ask the company if there's plans to change that? I ask all the time, Burley. I'm so sorry that they're not able to be there right now. They are a smaller company, and so they don't have the same buying power as the bigger companies and whatnot. So I don't know whether or not Journey Art Stuff has a better shipping situation, but you can check them out. So yeah, I do know that it's really hard to get there, but I've been in talks with them since I very first started working with them about whether or not they can get into Europe. I know it's a market that they'd like to, but things as you know, things are changing and tariffs are changing and all that. So I don't know what the current state is. I just know that they haven't been able to get in the last let's see, I've been working with them since 2018, I think. So the last 6 years. All right, our next swatch is going to be a forced bloom. So we are going to paint a nice flat wash and then drop some water into the center. They put the products on Amazon. Putting the products on Amazon is not as simple as that for a small business. There's a lot of inventory that they have to manage. So again, I know that they want to be in more places. They've worked really hard on expanding their offerings, and there's a lot of big changes in the works for them. They've been really busy behind the scenes, but I don't know all the details there. I do apologize. All right, so flat wash here, lots of pigment, and we're going to drop water into the center to force that bloom. The website I mentioned is journeyartstuff.com. It should look a lot like Cheap Joe's when you head on over there. Just had a look. They are also using FedEx. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you for looking that up, though. Cold and windy in New York today. It is a beautiful day here, actually, in Nevada. Blue skies, a little bit of clouds. It's cool, but really nice. Yeah, my hope is that Da Vinci can get there too. I know they want to get there. It's just a matter of, being able to fulfill orders there. All right. So we've got our forced bloom, and then the next square is going to be the opposite of that. We're going to do a water wash, get that paper nice and saturated. And then we're going to drop paint into the center of that so you can see how it disperses. And then our final little box down there, it's less of a box, but we're going to do a lifting test. So I'm going to put down a fairly good wash of the paint, and then once it dries, we can show you how it lifts. This color does lift easier than Denise's green because PY129 and PB60 are both very staining. We do have the very staining phthalo turquoise in this, but the yellow that is used is not quite as potent. All right, and then the squares over here are for values. So we're going to start with a very thick mixture, a lot of paint, not a lot of water, up in this top square. And then we're going to add a little bit of water for each subsequent layer. So I'm just dipping my brush, adding it to the puddle I already have. Dipping my brush in water, sorry. We're going to keep doing that process. Hello, Hannah. It's nice to see you too. Missed being here. I've had a limited palette series video in my editing room for ages. I also have a video, like a polish video for the swatch sheet that I showed earlier in the stream. This guy, I recorded that, so that'll be a video once I can have time to edit it. Holiday season is kind of crazy though, so we've been doing a lot of traveling, visiting a lot of family, and things are looking a little bit calmer now, so I'm excited to get back to videos and hang out with y'all some more. Let's see. Recently bought a couple of Da Vinci brushes. Okay, just so you know, Da Vinci is the brush company is not the same as the paint company. That might have been an unrelated statement. I know that Steven's been around for a while, so I think you know that already. You're just letting everyone else know that the brush company is not the same as the paint company. I believe the brush company is European, actually. Let's see. Welcome back to the internet. Okay with Da Vinci not being in Europe, I'd love to try out their paint, but you have so many good European brands. That's a wonderful point. Yeah, I love being able to support the companies that are local to you. That's why I don't use as many of the European companies because Da Vinci and Ingram and Daniel Smith are all nearby. It's easier to get and less impact. But we'll see. Of shipping for 6. Oh no, I'm sorry that their shipping is worse. All right. Okay. I'm glad I could help out with the Da Vinci, the paintbrush versus the paint company. Yeah, the paint company is located in Southern California. I don't know where Da Vinci brushes are located, but I know they're far from here. Everyone needs a friend in the US. Everyone in Europe needs a friend in the US that's on the Da Vinci watercolors. All right, so that is our value scale using water control. Then we're also going to take a kind of middle wash of the paint somewhere, in this region, and I'm going to paint all 3 of these swatches here, and we're going to do kind of a layering situation. So we'll have to wait for this to dry, which means we get to switch over to the Denise's turquoise soon. With the new palette, are they going to be making paint set in addition to the palette? It'd be great to fill a pocket palette. Yes. The refill set for the new earth-friendly lineup is going to be out next week, I am told. They weren't ready to launch everything today, but you can get the Denise's green, the Denise's turquoise, and the base palette today. And then I believe next week is going to be the refill set. And then I don't have a date yet for the Wildlife palette update. And there's a very small palette change coming to the Embrace Opacity set too. But I will let you know as soon as I do. Oh no, where you live, only brand of water color is Winsor and Newton, and it's almost double. Winsor Newton's a pricey brand. All right, so we're gonna set this aside, let this dry. Actually gonna lift up a little color in this middle box. It's a little darker than the other ones. And we're gonna set that over here and bring out our turquoise. So when we had to take out we had to take out Denise's green and Stormy blue, and I was trying to fill the palette, and I was thinking of colors that I thought would really suit my tastes well. And I really love using Cobalt Turquoise Deep now. And a lot of you know that Da Vinci has a really special version of it. It doesn't quite look like the other brands. It's in my Embrace Opacity palette. I really love working with it, but it's a cobalt color. So I asked Da Vinci if they would be interested in making a hue for Cobalt Turquoise Deep. But Cobalt Turquoise Deep Hue is a mouthful, so we went with Denise's turquoise. It is a 3-color convenience color, totally convenience color. I am aware that there are a lot of signal pigments in this palette, but I really wanted to bring in this kind of hue to the mix. And oops, sorry about that. Has my camera been doing that the whole session? I apologize. Let me fix that real quick for you. Oh, we don't want to go away forever. My apologies. Here we go. How's that? Is that better? I am so sorry. Every time I shut down my streaming software, it resets my camera, and out of all the things I did before we started streaming, that wasn't one of them. So I'm sorry if the screen's been flickering on you. Hopefully that is better. Hello. Oh, thank you. Happy holidays to all of you as well. Organizing your studio upstairs bedroom. That's exciting. Awesome. Okay, so sorry about that screen. I'm glad you guys are liking the Denise's new green. All right, back to the cobalt turquoise deep hue. So we're going with Denise's turquoise. It is a convenient mix. I know it has a white in it, and a lot of people don't like that, but I really wanted to get this hue represented in the palette since it's something I use so often. So a lot of companies have a cerulean blue hue, even though they don't quite look like cerulean. They're a lot brighter usually. And I haven't seen many that have like a granulating cobalt turquoise hue. So that's what we set out to do. The base is kind of a white color for that, but we've also got ultramarine blue for that granulation and some phthalo green to bring up those green tones. And we'll be able to compare that with our cobalt turquoise deep swatches that I have here as well. You'll find that the Denise's turquoise granulates a little bit less. It is a little more blue than green, and it excuse me, and the what was the last point? Oh, it's more the new one is a little bit more opaque because we are using that white pigment to get the same color hue. It does the Denise's turquoise does really well in layers that you'll see here. It does get a little chalkier when you use it straight from the pan. So we'll explore all those options and you can see how that paints out. Let's see. Darwood, yes, I saw your question on Instagram, but I didn't have time to reply. PY83 it depends on the supplier. It depends on the like I know that some are more light fast, some are less light fast. Vinci says that theirs is light fast. I haven't been able to do tests myself, but they do use it in a lot of their convenience yellows. And so they have listed Denise's new green as light fast based on their own tests, and the other mixes that they have with the yellows are rated as light fast 2 out of 4. So I would say it's a marginally light fast pigment, or not marginally. Say it's a light fast, not a very light fast pigment. But I haven't done the test myself, so I don't think it's anything too much to worry about though. Just don't hang it in the sun like with all watercolors. Da Vinci Brush Company was founded in 1890. Is in Germany. Thank you for letting us know. Let's see. I want to get the Wildlife palette because of the sale right now. Is it going to be a big change? No, I think the palettes are going to be the price that they are. I apologize for that. I would wait until they're updated unless you really want the colors that are already in there. I know that with the Wildlife palette, they've already switched out the green because they ran out of my old green, but there are more changes coming to that one. We'll go over that after the Denise's turquoise. The PB36 from Da Vinci looks great for clouds and skies. It is beautiful. It is more green in person. It's showing more blue on my computer screen. So go ahead and check out if you're interested. I have swatch pages for all of the Swatch with Me's over on Patreon. We've got lots of opportunities for color calibrated things. My live stream camera isn't as good as my main camera or my scanner, and I apologize for that. Let's see. They're not discontinuing those colors that you changed out. I've been using okay. They are not discontinuing. So they Da Vinci no longer has PY129. It is not available. So those colors are not in their lineup. Denise's green is not in the lineup, and PY129 is not in the lineup. I do have a post over on the Patreon. Sorry, I keep mentioning that. explaining that I'm not going to stop using Denise's green with the PY129, like it'll still be part of my palette. I would treat Denise's new green kind of like, you know how Daniel Smith has sap green and deep sap green, or sap green deep? It's kind of like that. There's a difference between the two, and there's definitely a place for both of them. Yeah. All right. So we are going to swatch out this new turquoise color. And you'll see that it is more opaque in that mask tone, but as many of you know, that doesn't bother me these days. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. I'm happy to paint with an opaque color. I think they have really good body. They flow really well. And this color I mentioned does get a little heavy if you're using it as like as thick as you possibly can, but it glazes beautifully, and I think it tints out really well. And I'm really proud to have made a color with them that kind of fills what I think was missing in the market for this cobalt turquoise deep hue. And I really love the little granulation that it has. And I think it's really easy and fun to paint with. So I hope that you guys like it too. Yes, I agree that the Da Vinci, Daniel Smith, M. Graham, it's all nice when you live on the west coast of the US, isn't it? It's one of the reasons that they're so accessible for me. I love the softness of opaque colors. The opacity palette is the next best thing to gouache. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. All right. This is going to be our variegated wash with our flat brush. Yeah, I do know it's a little hard to tell when Da Vinci is having a sale due to the way that they list their colors. I think more often than not, and I don't want to speak like the same because I'm not like monitoring their website like a hawk, but I think more often than not they do like free shipping or free gift deals. So you can look for that. I don't know if they have more coming for this weekend. I get the updates the same way you guys do in my inbox. So new color chart design is great. Thank you so much. So another fun thing is that my new partner has a 3D printer. So we've been experimenting with that in to print out like board game inserts. And I also would be curious to know if you would be interested in either like STL files for templates like this, or for me to sell templates. I am trying to phase out my Etsy shop, so I don't know if the latter is going to be an option for us. But I was thinking about designing some templates for you guys for swatching, but I know a lot of those already exist in the market, so I don't know if that's something you would be interested in. Let me know. In that regard, my Etsy shop is closing if you haven't already heard on my other platforms. It is not, in the current recession that we're in, it is not beneficial for me to stock a lot of money worth of prints and stickers to ship out myself. So if you want a 40% off sale for my prints, stickers, and originals, that's happening right now. There's also a link in the description. If you're looking for holiday gifts, stickers, stocking stuffers, anything like that. My husband got a 3D printer earlier this year, and he's been using it for some board game stuff. Awesome. Yeah, it's been really, really fun. We're having a great time with it. And I don't know how to design the files, but we've been talking about it, both for this template that I started using for these swatches, and then also the limited palette series that I do. I have the template for the 2 colors or the 3 color palettes that we use. And currently I have those just, printed out and laminated and like cut out the notches by hand. But I think it'd be fun if I was able to print that off as well. Have something a little sturdier. Drop some water right in the middle of that swatch there. I do not need paint for this next one. I have 36 tube paints in both sets of your pan sets I got about 2 years ago. Oh, thank you so much. It has been It's been a really interesting couple of years, but I am doing really wonderfully right now. I am really happy. I believe I've had my final move and shouldn't have to do that again. So I'm really looking forward to setting down some roots, getting back to editing, and just being happier in general. It's really nice. I'm going to, I got a little water bleed right here, so we're just gonna soak that up. And then we'll drop that color right in the middle there. Do a couple taps, encourage it to bloom. Any advice on making custom mixes with mixes a bit more consistent? Anyway, anyway you get close, not the same color every time you do. No, actually, I don't have any tips for that. So when I develop a new color with Da Vinci, I'm sitting here with a tiny little like gram scale that goes to hundredths, and I'm measuring out the quantities of paint so that they can replicate it in their studio, and then produce the color on a larger scale. And it's interesting how I can measure something so precisely, and then we still have to go through several iterations before they get their formula, the same way that mine is. So I unfortunately don't have any good tips for that. When it comes to painting versus like mixing up a pre-made set, if there's something I make over and over and over again, I'll just make a pan of that paint. That's how I got to Denise's green in the first place, or the Stormy Blue, or the Denise's gray. So all of those are like individual things. But if I use them enough, I'll mix up a pan of it and just add it to my palette, so that way I at least have it for a little while longer, if that helps. Thank you so much. I appreciate the well wishes and the gentle encouragement to come back. I appreciate that too. I feel I want to get back to the videos, but as you know, it is a balance between spoons and life and health and all that. So thank you so much. All right, we're gonna do that solid paint up here. And then we're gonna keep adding water to do our gradient. Thank you so much. You guys are really sweet. And you'll see this is a lighter color to begin with, so we're not going to have as much range as the Denise's green, which is a pretty dark color when it comes to these value scales, as in there won't be as much differentiation between the squares. But we can still get a nice gradient, show off all of the range it has. Where did I put my other sheet? Did I cover that up? Oh, well, I'm lucky that this was already mostly dry. I put another piece of paper on it. So what I mean here is that you can see there's a bigger change between the dark green and the lightest green, and this has less variety just because the color started off lighter. All right, and then over on this side, we're going to do the layering. So we're going to mix up a moderate value, a little too dark. And then we'll let that dry. Hello, hello, good to see you. We're gonna bring back over our Denise's green, and it's not super dry yet. Maybe we shouldn't push it. Okay, let me set this off to the side. And how about, while those are drying, we can talk about the Wildlife palette. So again, the Wildlife palette is not ready yet, but it will be soon. The Denise's new green is already available in it, but if you want to wait for the updated palette, hopefully that's coming soon. I don't know whether or not it'll be before the holidays. But here is the new lineup, and here is the color chart. Actually, let's see what we can do here for you. This is going to be extra confusing because there aren't labels on this swatch chart and it's sideways. But here's the look. If you look down the diagonal from here, this yellow, red, blue, blue, and we've got green, green, yellow, earth colors down the center. These are the colors that are going to be in the set. The set used to be a primary red, yellow, blue, and then another blue and a green, maybe Indian Throne blue. No, it's not Indian Throne blue. I don't have the list in front of me right now, and I've been working so much with the new palette. But we had the first row was those mixing colors and greens, and the second whole row was earth colors, and that's going to change a little bit. Again, I wanted to make sure that there weren't a ton of duplicates with the earth friendly set. There are a couple, but that's just because they're such great colors that we needed to have them. This is a little bit more muted. We've got, we're using Da Vinci yellow here. So that's PY 154. You know, that's one of my favorite yellows. So that's our primary yellow. We've still got alizarin crimson quinacridone, which is that dark PV19. We don't have a magenta in this set. It never has had a magenta. It's just a more earthy muted set. We're switching out the ultramarine to be French ultramarine, just so you have some variety if you have both the Wildlife set and the Earth Friendly set. So this has a lot more granulation if you look along this row. Got a lot more granulation in there, and then across this way as well. We've still got our cerulean color. This is the genuine, not the hue, so that you get some soft granulation, and this can also be used to mix Denise's gray. We've got perylene green. That was the other color. It was cerulean blue, Denise's green, perylene green on the top row. I got there. We are adding in Denise's new green. Then we used to have raw sienna here, and it's now gold ochre because I felt like it made the palette a little bit more versatile by having two brighter yellows. And then this is the exciting one. We have got Da Vinci's new hematite, natural hematite. It is a granulating brown. Very excited to have that in the lineup finally. You know that I love granulating colors, and having this natural hematite I think is going to be really, really fun for this palette. So I've swapped out burnt sienna for the natural hematite, and we've got a lot more granulation in here, a lot of really interesting tones. It's a beautiful color. I do have a swatch card, but it is labeled incorrectly, so I'm going to put my thumb over it so you don't get confused. This is PR 101. I drew out multiple swatch cards and painted the wrong colors here. So this is the natural hematite. It is absolutely stunning. We've got a beautiful gradient, lots of granulation, really nice mass tone, really interesting and variegated washes. It blooms pretty wildly. We've got nice dispersion. It lifts pretty well. And then it just has this beautiful range of red earth tones. So I'm really, really excited for this color and to add it to the Wildlife palette. So that's my most exciting color from this one. We still have burnt umber and raw umber just because they're so invaluable. I think I've said this before, but Da Vinci's burnt umber is kind of similar to some brands' burnt siennas. So I feel like you still get this range of umbers and browns. You can mix all these dark colors here as well. And then we're also adding perylene violet, which is a longtime favorite of mine, PV29. It is like PB60, not safe for aquatic life, I believe, is the study. Nope, that one, they did a human study, like the FDA did a study or something. I don't remember which organization it was, but they did a study on this, and that's why it's not in the earth-friendly set. But I definitely wanted to add it to this one. As you guys know, I have a video on how to dispose of paint water with as least impact as possible. So if you're interested in that, there's another video on the channel for that. but we get to add in Perylene Violet finally to one of the palettes, and that is really, really exciting. Looks a bit like Perylene Maroon. Yeah, it's darker than Perylene Maroon and a little bit more purple leaning, but it's really nice. Or did you mean this one? This one might also, might be referring to this. I apologize. And then we also have Stormy Blue. So you might notice this palette used to have Denise's Gray in it, and it's no longer going to have that. Some of you guys already know, we've been talking about it over on Patreon, that when I first launched Denise's Gray, it was really hard to nail down. I mentioned earlier, just a few minutes ago, when someone asked about mixing colors, like it was really hard to get the formula for this color right. And it came to my attention that it's not looking quite the way I wanted it to. When we launched the color, it's definitely more red leaning now than it was blue leaning, and we tried to address the issue and it just didn't get back to the blue leaning gray that I wanted. So we're removing that from my palettes just because it's not Denise's Gray anymore. It's still a beautiful color, and I think the Da Vinci is going to keep the color and rename it, but we're taking it out of the palettes. So you can still make Denise's Gray with Indian Red and Cerulean Blue. That's available in the Embrace Opacity palette. Or you can hodgepodge it together from your own collection. But unfortunately, that color will no longer be in my palettes moving forward. Let's see. Are the other Perylene pigments considered safe? I assume the green is, since it's still in the Earth Friendly palette. There's been no research released on the other colors. I don't know why they picked PV29. I assume it's in more things than Perylene green is, but there's no research suggesting that at the moment. All right, thank you so much for joining. You can head on out, finish off with the replay. Appreciate you stopping by. All right, so we've updated on that Wildlife palette. I hope that you enjoy the changes coming here. You can still find the old version on my website if you want to jot those down real quick, if you want to make the original palette yourself. And again, I'm not sure when the changes for that are coming, but hopefully they will be there soon. All right, let's go back to our green. We do not need our Wildlife palette at the moment. Bring back over our Earth Friendly palette. And we're going to do our stripe of mass tone along the side here in classic swatching fashion. It's been so long since I've done these swatch cards. I still have the binders and everything, but man, are they behind. Sorry, it's a little awkward at the angle that I'm at, trying to get in there for you. And then on the next swatch, sorry, I think I got some Perylene green in there. Sorry, Miss Alive, thank you for swatching and educating. Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it together. All right, so this is our 1/2 inch flat variegated wash. So again, I've done a couple videos with this before, but we just kind of go in with some different paint strokes. It doesn't have to be the same every time. And I'm just looking for some variety here to be able to see how the pigments flow and react. It can be as much or as little as you want it to be. Try and get in a variety of strokes, including some finer lines. And then we'll do a similar type of wash with our round brush. And again, just trying to create as much variety as we can. I like to go in with like a strong amount of pigment, at least in a couple places, so we can see how that does. And these two swatches are done. And then we're going to move over to the far side of the swatch sheet with, we want to mix up enough wash to do 2 squares. Similar strength as before, where we're going to glaze over a second time on 2 of the boxes. We're going to leave the last one with just the one. And then once this is dry, we'll do one more layer on that top square there so we can have a layered value scale and the water controlled value scale as well. And then we'll do the same thing on Denise's turquoise. This one is not quite dry yet. I don't have my heat tool. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back, all right? Let me pause this. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. All right, I've got my Ranger Heated Craft tool. I'm just going to dry the rest of this sheet. I don't like to dry these swatch sheets too early because I want to see what they do when they bloom, but this is just like the dampness of the paper, so it's done spreading. Sorry for that rattle. It doesn't normally rattle like that. It's moved around a bunch though. Just going to focus on the areas that we need to swatch on. I think that is good enough. Aw. Thanks for watching with your little one. All right, this is still a little damp, but I don't think it'll affect the swatch. We're not going to be moving around a bunch. We just want to do this second coat. That is a wonky line, and it just kept getting wider, huh? Oh well. All right. We'll do this second wash here. Here we have like a different distribution of the first wash. So I'm just gonna kind of do it opposite of how I did before so we can keep some of the lighter values, see what the darker ones look like glazed over each other. And then same thing with the round brush. And then those last 2 little glazes. I really enjoyed this style of swatch sheet to get to know the new colors, including the hematite. That was a color that I knew they had released, but I hadn't used it yet, so I didn't know whether or not I wanted to include it in the palette. So I had to and do a fair amount of intense studies all at once. So I did the swatch sheet, try and figure that out. I did some paintings. There's a squirrel over on my Patreon right now that I did with the hematite and Denise's gray that turned out really well, and I was really happy with it. So we went forward with adding that to the wildlife palette. All right, got that. Let's come back over to Denise's new green. I'm going to take a wet, clean brush, damp clean brush, and we're going to do a lift here. I'm just wiggling this back and forth, introducing a little bit of clean water, and then we can dab up. And you can see that that's not quite as staining as our Denise's green. You can get to a little bit more of the white of the paper. This color does have a large drying shift. It has a phthalo color in it, so that's to be expected. But here you can start to see the differences between the two. Again, this isn't perfectly color calibrated with this webcam, but there is a version of this over on Patreon as well for those larger scans if you want them. But you can see there's much more of a yellow glow here. This one is softer and leans a little bit more towards those red undertones. So we've got like a sap green and our deep sap green. Are we feeling bold? Are we feeling like we can peel the tape without messing up those wet washes? Let's see. Sorry for bumping the camera there. So you just have to make sure you're pulling straight up and not dragging across the wet paint you just made if you're being impatient like me and not waiting for it to dry. But we're going to pull down that one, and then let's come from the bottom here. Then we're going to, these little crossbars right here, going to be the trickiest part with that wet paint. Luckily, there's only 2 of them. Your tiny ninja wants treats. I want treats too. I think it's time for like a lunch break after this. We're actually having a second Thanksgiving dinner tonight. So after the stream, I will be going to cook. Sorry, I keep getting the tape stuck to my fingers. All right. I feel like the swatch sheet really turns on. Actually, let me do one more thing on my camera. I think it's changing the temperature balance on you, right? So there's gonna be a change. I think we want to be somewhere around here. Okay, hopefully that's better. All right, and I think what we'll do, since I won't be able to have these fully dry on the stream for you all, I will scan them in once they're done drying, and I'll put them up on Patreon for free so that if you want to go over to the website, you can do that. I have a longer post that's already posted for like paid tiers, but if you just want to take a look at these skins, I will make sure to put that up as a companion post to this video after the fact. But here's that look between Denise's new green and Denise's green, and those pigments in case you wanted to remake one of them on your own. We have a detailed chat happening right now about purr babies and human babies and, and little ninjas. It's a fun conversation. All right, this is still quite wet since we just did that. So I think I'm gonna hold off on peeling this because I don't want to mess it up for you. But I can put it next to that Cobalt Turquoise Deep, and I'll do the same for this. I'll put it up on Patreon once they're dry so you can see the final scans. But here's the look between these two. And I think you're getting a little bit of glare here. And the true, like, oh no, I took off the tape before I did the third layer on the, I'll have to tape the back off. This is what happens when you rush. So I will fix the third swatch on the Denise's green panel. And then also, so you can see how, I don't know what happens in the magic of the third layer on this color, but it turns out really well. Let me show you. So the reason why this sheet has the wrong number is because I mixed it up with this sheet. So this is not PR 101, but this is the finished sheet of Denise's turquoise. And this is the third layer there. And in person, it just has like this really nice glow to it that is missing from the solid colored one. So again, I'll finish this one, put it up on that free Patreon post for you. You can see the soft, subtle granulation. It's a little bit less like intensely green. It definitely has white in it. But for those of you who like opaque colors and just painting around with something similar to gouache, I think you'll really like this one. All right, did I forget anything? I think we did not go over the Embrace Opacity yet. That's going to be a small change. Again, I don't know when that's happening, but earlier I was mentioning that we're phasing Denise's gray out of the palette, so obviously that will have to leave. That's here. And we're going to be putting in Cobalt Turquoise instead. So it already had Cobalt Turquoise Deep in Cerulean. We're adding the Cobalt Turquoise, which I know a lot of you really love. So hopefully that will be an acceptable trade. You'll also have the Cerulean and the Indian Red if you want to mix your own Denise's gray. So that's the change coming there. We went over the wildlife already, and I think that just about does it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm sorry that I've been away for so long. Again, a lot of life changes, a lot of moving, finally settling down, and that's really exciting. So that's a really unique PR 101, I know. That's why we repainted them today. I was like, well, I can't show you the swatches because that's confusing. So we're just going to paint them again. And that way we'll have something to talk about. You want me to lift this one here? I think I can lift that. Hopefully it won't be too problematic. Thank you so much, and thank you for your support. I know it's weird with me having been away for so long and then coming back with a palette change, but since this is on a timetable that is not just my own, it's also Da Vinci's, I needed to get this out at a certain time. So thank you for understanding that. We'll get back to the regular content in the new year, I believe. And I'm really excited to be back. So so yeah, you can see this color lifts pretty cleanly too. I actually think it lifts better than the Cobalt. Without that deeper granulation, I think it lifts off the page a little bit better, and white tends to lift pretty well too. Okay, I don't know if you've answered this before, but do you get income? Yes. Oh, sorry. When they sell individual tubes of paint, no. It's complicated. I get a commission on all of my palettes. And then if you use my affiliate link to purchase anything else, I get a smaller percentage of affiliate link on all of the tubes. I do not get the full commission like I do on my palettes for my tube colors. But if you use my link, I do still get a partial commission. Hopefully that's not too terribly confusing. And thank you for asking about how to support. PB60 is still in the DV's lineup, but it is not safe for aquatic life, which is why it's been removed from my earth-friendly palette. And PY129 is no longer available to Da Vinci. It is still a color that is in existence and other brands have it, but they were not able to fill their supplier when it no longer became available to them. So we're just removing that one. It's also, PY129 it's gone back and forth on the Prop 65 warning over the years, and so it was what I've wanted to remove for them from the, sorry, still sick, congested, from the earth-friendly palette for a while. There isn't another good solution though for that glow and that sap green that we love so much. So it took a while to reformulate a new color, and I hope that you enjoy it. And thank you for the recap in the chat too. So yeah, if you want anything at all, the links are in the description. If you have questions, you can leave comments under this video. Or if you're a patron, you can leave them on Patreon. I see those usually before I see the YouTube comments. So happy holidays. I hope you have a great weekend wherever you are or whatever you're celebrating or not celebrating. And I will see you guys hopefully in the next video. I'm really looking forward to be back. Thank you guys.